So what's up, guys? So today we're gonna finish up. That's on my. Anyways, so today we're gonna finish up the roll cage. We're gonna finish up the back half. We're gonna tie in the subframe. We're gonna do the front side of the cage, seatbelt tabs, door crash bars. It's all getting done today. It's kind of long, so strap in. Alright, so this is what my boneyard of bends. This is from the two previous attempts at making the main hoop. But anyways, I have two identical bent tubes. So I'm gonna utilize them. Plan is, I don't know if you guys can see, it's hard to hold the camera and do this. Anyways, so this bend gives me a nice offset so where I could come down. So I could come down, it bends, and it comes down and it lands there. That way, the heim joint that's gonna go here doesn't have to be at an extreme angle, because I couldn't get these to bend enough. I would have completely defeated the purpose of having that unit tied in. Alright, so where we're at. So what I need to do is I need to make a bushing. I've already made one just to see how it would work. So I'm taking 1.25 inch, this is 1.25 inch round rod, and I'm hole sawing a 1 inch hole. And what this allows me to do is it allows me, so it reduces this diameter from this tube. I can slide it in here like that. I can weld it onto here. And then I could take this guy, this collar, which is a threaded bushing basically. I think this is a reverse thread. I think this is the left hand thread one, yeah. So I could thread this guy in here. This guy is supposed to weld straight to the pipe like this, but we got two different diameters, so now I'm just doing that. And then that allows me to run a heim joint. This particular size heim joint, with this particular size tubing, and it's gonna work like that, and it's gonna be on both sides. And this is gonna be for the subframe attaching to the strut tower. So that's where we're at. So I'm gonna get going. I need to make 6 of these. I got one done. It's kind of a lengthy process, so I'm gonna be here a while. So I got all the bushings made up and all the sleeves, that's what they're called. These threaded sleeves, they're all cleaned up and ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these sleeves to the steel bushing, and then I'll start making up my tubes. Two of the ones that go to the subframe are already done, they're pre-bent. I just need to cut them and weld them up and bolt them into place. The other two I still need to finagle a little bit. So I'm gonna get to the TIG welding. Product is gonna look like, and this arm is basically for the subframe to the strut tower, so it's gonna look like this. Actually be something long like this. So that's where we're at. I need to cut this guy to length, and then I could tack these two guys together. subframe tie-ins to the strut tower is all mocked up. I decided to add, I wasn't going to add a cross member across these two, but I decided to do it mainly for aesthetics, and then for lateral movement just in case. That way it's stiff down there and it's stiff up here. So I mean, it should really strengthen that subframe, so that sway bar should do its job now. Next step is to add a heim joint here and go with the bar all the way across to the roll cage. I have both of my tube adapters made up. They're threaded. Let me explain what's in store for these guys. So on one end, I'm going to use this guy. To remove the Allen, and it's a two-piece and it'll slide off. On the other end, I'm going to use these tube adapters. Okay, so he's going to go on this end like so. And he's gonna go on this end like so. It's a little gummed up on this side. Maybe I could switch them up. There we go. So this is a miniature size tube of what I plan on doing. So this side's gonna hit the main hoop, and then this side. So this side is gonna hit the shock tower, and it's gonna be at a diagonal. And then there's going to be another tube going across it, creating triangulation, or an X, if you will. X. So now that I have these two done, I'm going to go mock all that up. Alright, so this is where we're at. We got this bar and I'm holding it on with that masking tape and that other bar that's in. So now I need to address this issue. As you can see, it's not a direct line from that point to that point. It's slightly off. This guy needs to come out a little bit more. So I'm going to cut that, and it's not cut at the correct length, so I need to cut it back 1.5 inches. So I'll cut it back, and then I'll see what I can do about moving this guy over a little bit so that we get a direct line of sight. I made up the other bar right here. So he's all made up, and I held him up there and I marked off my line. So now I need to cut that dude, notch him off, and then everything should be lining up. I don't have to do any modifications to that tube. I just need to cut it back a little bit, and just by cutting it back, it reduces the angle of where it would shoot, so it brings it back further back, so my angle increases. So I mean, it's still a little deviated, but so it's not perfect. This should be a 30-degree angle, and this ends up being somewhere around a 32. So it's a little deviation, but it's not a big deal. Definitely can't tell by, I can't pick it up, so I'm gonna leave it as is, because otherwise I have to cut that whole tube off, make a new tube, and it's not worth for 2 degrees of deviation. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off, mock everything up, take one final look, and if everything looks good to me, then I'll tack everything in place, and then we'll move on to the front half of the cage. Alright, quick little recap here. What's been done? I cleaned into the car a little bit, got the harness out, but particularly cage is just about all finished welded up. I did boxes are removed, so cage is dropped. So now I could get to the tops of the cage and weld the top. So that's what I need to do. I need to weld the top of your. You can't really see this guy right there. I need to weld the top of that guy. I need to weld the top of this guy. Same thing on the other side. Once I weld that in, then I'll put these boxes back into place, and then I'll weld everything in. Sorry about that. I'll weld everything back into place, and then the cage will be finalized. Oh, and yeah, look at that. Oh man, that burnt. So luckily I have another headliner, so I'm not too concerned about that, and I could take it off. So I'll address that. This boo-boo when I'm done welding the cage. So that's where we're at, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start welding. So what's up? Let me show you what's up with what's going on with the project here. Give you some insight, because I haven't been recording because you don't want to see me paint, and I couldn't really record as I was welding the cage, because it was it's difficult enough as it is to weld the cage in awkward positions. So, and then having these cameras and to get the good angles, it became really difficult. So I couldn't do it. So, and I needed, it's a cage, so I need to produce good welds. So I just went ahead and welded it all up. Here it is. And I also painted it. I ended up painting it with this guy. Steel It. I don't know if you guys have heard it. It's big in the off-road community. It's a stainless steel coating. It's very durable, almost as durable as this powder coating. You can weld on it, and it's a little expensive. I think it's roughly about $30 a can, if I remember right. But it's well worth it, and they're very limited in the colors that they have. So here's the rest of the cage. It's kind of a matte black is what I went with, but again, it's as durable as powder coating, and you can weld on it. So if you forget to weld something or you want to do a repair, you can just go ahead and weld on it and then touch it up. Like I said, it is a little expensive, but on the flip side, I painted this entire cage with one can. I'm working on the seatbelt tabs. I made this. This is how I was gonna mount it, but then I came to the realization that it doesn't need to be so tall because I'm missing my boxes. So if I add my boxes, that puts me at the height that I need to be at. The reason I wanted that height was because your seat belt, from where it enters the seat holes or it straps over your shoulders, that degree or that angle, I mean, between where it mounts to where your shoulder height is or where it enters the seat, shouldn't be greater than 20 degrees, because otherwise that seat belt is now in erect, gonna compress. It'll compress your spine, and yeah, and it'll defeat the purpose of actually having that harness. So all I really need is this top profile, because of the way this bar is. It's angled, so that's all I really needed. So I'll probably end up doing is throw these blocks in, weld the cage in, seatbelt tabs after I do that, and then finish up the back half of the cage. So let me give you a little quick recap of where I left off, because I really didn't film anything. So here, back half of the cage is almost fully welded. It's welded enough to where I feel comfortable to remove this rear section, and then I could just finish welding the rears, because there's very limited room in there and it's extremely difficult to weld in that environment. So if I don't have to do it, I'm not going to do it. Like I said before, cage is all welded up. The reason why I didn't finish welding that and then I didn't finish up the seatbelt tabs is because, as you know, I went from spending quite a bit of an amount of time designing this and not liking it, and figuring out that, oh wait, the cage is sitting a lot lower than it should be, to designing this. So we went from that to this. So this is the top tab and this is the bottom tab. So the line I drew, that's where it's going to be cut. I already drew it up on SolidWorks, so it took me a considerable amount of time to draw up something that or design something that I like and that will be functional, and I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's going to be it is going to have like an overlay over the top of it, so it should set it off and it should look pretty good. And it's not going to be extremely bulky, and it's going to be pretty practical and kind of a showpiece. So I'll be using this piece and this piece of stainless. Alright, so here I have the seat bracket. I have the bolts rolling through that's gonna hold the position, and this is the overlay, the stainless steel overlay. I went ahead and painted it with that Steelit. We're gonna test if we really can weld on it. So let's see what happens. I'm just gonna fuse weld the overlay onto the bottom bracket, to the stainless to the overlay. It's just gonna be fused weld. I'm not gonna add any filler rod, just to maintain a lower profile, and at the same time, I mean, the overlay is just there for aesthetics. It's not really there for any structural purposes. That's going to be between the bottom bracket and this bracket. That's all that those are there for. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and start welding this guy on, and see if that indeed is the case, that you can weld on it. So here's the second bracket of the two that I finished welding. The first one's already over there waiting for me to get welded onto the cage. But I want to illustrate how phenomenal this product is. Let's steal it. Look at the margins. Paint, weld, clean, no scaling, black. I mean, no discoloration. It's great. I TIG welded this because TIG welding is the most temperamental welding process in terms of metal preparation. I'm absolutely blown away. So here is the end product. Crash bars are painted and welded in, and then here we have C-tabs. These are double shear tabs. Let me open. So here's the rear half of the cage. Our subframe tie-in is in. Times it's all painted and TIG welded. So yeah, here it is. Let me get a better glimpse. Oh, I could probably get a. There's a second seatbelt tab for the passenger. That's the first seatbelt tab. Let me get a better picture from the passenger side. There's a crash bar, so it makes it get it in. There it is. And here's that C-tab welded to the cage. Again, double sheared. Cool thing about these door crash bars is they are fully removable, and at the same time, all I have to do is pull the pin right here just like this, and they're supposed to swing out. What happened? Car's been sitting like this for a while. Oh, and they swing out. Oh, I know what it is. We'll edit that out. Anyways, so here's crash bars. So we get a better picture. There's a visor right there. Got that nice glare. Can't really get it. But yeah, here's the cage. Seats there. I did make my seat brackets. I did film it, so I'll edit it, and that'll probably be our next episode. Just wanted to finish this up. So yeah, cage is done. Panels are in. I ended up making these little things so it's removable. Yeah, pretty stoked. Turned out nice.